Hello, I am Catherine. As you know, I make videos in 3 languages: Greek, English, and German. You find them in my website, but also in my channel Markt Jesu. I speak a lot about Endtime. I know the spiritual world. I have seen Jesus Christ. I have seen the devil. I know the powers of darkness, and I know also Jesus Christ. So many people don't believe in anything, but God exists if you believe or not. The devil exists if you believe or not. Jesus Christ is coming back if you believe or not. Nothing changed. What is here in the Bible will happen to the point. Every letter. We are in the last days. I speak a lot about the last days. Many people don't know there was a group in Israel thousands of years ago, the Essenes, and they have a calendar for all these thousands of years, and they gave a lot of prophecies, and they wrote that in 2025, the end will begin, the last Jubilee. A Jubilee is in Israel for the Jews 50 years. But it doesn't mean that Jesus will come the year 75, because when Jesus comes back, first the Jewish people will have to there must be so many things happen, so many things. The earth will become new for the millennium, so the millennium will not begin exactly the first day. There are a lot of things to say. Many people are lazy to read. I think today many people play games and a lot of things, but I see in the trains, in the buses, and so people with big books. But normally many of these books are love romance or crime books or whatever. It's so good to read the Bible and to read books that tell us a lot of things that have to do with the Bible, historic books like from Josephus, a historian, or the book Jesher, you schreibe with Yod. A lot of good books that tell more, because if the Bible had all the history, we couldn't have now in our hands. It will be so big. I told you, I spoke in the last 2 videos about Edom, Esau, the other son of Isaac. Rebecca had 2 sons. Jacob, God gave him the name Israel, and Esau. And he was so red, the hair, the body, that became Edom. Edom means red. Why it's important to understand what we say, what I explain? Because after the flood, after the deluge, you say, God created a new nation, a new people, Israel, with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All the others, also from the family of Noah, were the heathens, the idolaters, or as you want to, heathens. So we have, from the beginning after the flood, 2 people, Israel, the Jews, and the heathens. what will happen in the last 7 years, especially in the end time. We will again have two people, Israel and the heathens. Many people don't understand Harmageddon. What is Harmageddon? It's the last war on earth in Israel. It is the war between Jesus Christ and Satan. It is the war between Jesus Christ and the Antichrist. It is the war between Jesus Christ and all the nations. The Bible says all the nations, all the people will go against Israel. So if you don't want to belong to the enemies of God, a war between Jesus Christ and the enemies of Israel. So God sees all the others who doesn't belong to Israel, the enemies of Israel. Perhaps you say, is Israel better than us? No, nobody said. God chose them. It's the sovereign thing from God. He can do what he wants. God is God. God chose them to show his glory, but they also abandoned God, took the gods of the Middle East, the gods of the Arabic people, and so they fell away from God, but still they are the chosen people. To be chose by God, it brings a lot of responsibility. This is why the judgment is then much more than for the others. This is why the Jews, since they exist, they are always suffering, because the judgments are much serious than for others. The same is with the people who are called as apostles, prophets, teachers, evangelists, pastors. The judgment above these people is much serious than for you who are a simple Christian. You understand what I say? So it's very important which side you will take. So I explain why I do these videos. I said, many people I am a street missionary, I speak with many peoples. I preach the gospel in the streets for decades now. I meet, of course, all the nationalities, all the languages, and so on. And many people, especially Muslims, tell me the elite are Jewish. The Jews want to reign the world. No. Islam wants to reign the world. And not only Islam, of course, also the elite. I don't know how is the relationship between these two. Islam means you take the word for Allah, submission. So I asked God, what do you say? And God led me to Edom and to some things that have to do with Edom. Even the picture you see in the beginning of my video, I didn't want to bring this picture. I wanted another, but God said it has to do with Edom. I don't understand everything, I must say. It is new for me, but we will see. So I go to Revelation of John. I know in chapter 2, Jesus speaks to the church of Smyrna. Smyrna today is Izmir in Turkey. I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich, and the slander of those who say that they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. What says Jesus? There are people who say they are Jews, but they are not. They are the synagogue of Satan. And what do these people? They kill, they persecute Christians. Behold, do not fear what you are about to suffer. Behold, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison that you may be tested, and for 10 days you will have tribulation. Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. So God speaks to the church of Smyrna is the prototype for the persecuted church, and especially also in the last days, and to the church in Philadelphia. To the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, the words of the Holy One, the true one, who has the key of David, who opens and no one will shut, who shuts and no one opens. Who is that? Jesus Christ. I know your works. Behold, I have set before you an open door, which no one is able to shut. I know that you have but little power, and yet you know you have kept my word and have not denied my name. Behold, I will make those of the synagogue of Satan, who say that they are Jews and are not, but lie. Behold, I will make them come and bow down before your feet, and they will learn that I have loved you. And. So we see the church of Smyrna, the persecuted church, and the church of Philadelphia. The church of Philadelphia will be also the last church, the church of the end time. Because the next church, the Laodicea, is the fallen, the apostate church. We see Jesus 2000 years. He comes to John, the apostle, who is prisoner in Patmos in Greece. He is prisoner of the Romans. And he wrote letters to the 7 churches in Minor Asia. This is Turkey today. And all have Greek names because Greeks and Jews lived there. And we see Smyrna, the persecuted church, and we see Philadelphia, the faithful church of the last days. And Jesus speaks only to them about the synagogue of Satan. You have people, there are people who give themselves as Jews and are not. Who are these people? We go. I told last time in my last 2 videos, you have to listen to understand what we speak about. If you give the word Edom, or if you go to the playlist, I made an extra playlist for Edom. We saw that Esau, Edom, lived in the southern part of Jordan, with capital city Petra. And they were big enemies of Israel, and God hated them with eternal hate. And he said even that in Malachias or Maleachi, the prophet, the last book of the Old Testament, because they didn't help their brothers when they came out from Egypt, because they made wars against them all the time. The Edomites, when the Babylonians came and took away the Jews as slaves to Babylon, we saw the Edomites said to the Babylonians, kill them, destroy them, eliminate them, that there will never be the word, the name Israel in the history again. That they will never be a country with the name of Israel again. We see that also in the Psalm 137, but also in the Psalm 83. Edom is again and again his name everywhere where is war against Israel. And they said to the Babylonians, throw their children, their babies to the walls, to the rocks, destroy them. Do you remember the terrorists, Hamas, what they did the 7th of October 2023? They are doing, these people, they are doing that for thousands of years, nothing new. They did that here. They said even to the Babylonians to do that. What happened? When the Jews were taken away from their country as slaves, the imperium, the empires, Persians, Babylonians, Assyrians, they always took most of the people away, but they let back always the simple people, shepherds, farmers, small, simple people. So the Nabateans, I explained, the Nabateans, Saudis, they attacked the Edomites and took away their country. What did the Edomites 500 years before Jesus? They took the country of the Israelis, Judea, not all, because it was two countries in this time, Israel and Judea. They took Judea, south part of Israel, with Hebron. It was the capital city of the Edomites for a long time. I explained in a video about Antiochus Epiphanes, one after Alexander the Great, who had the Seleucid Empire. It was Syria, part of Iraq, Lebanon, etc. And there was always war between the Seleucids and Ptolemies, or how do you say, Egypt. Between these two countries was always war. And they had to pass Israel. Israel is between Africa and Asia. So they changed also, we know, Antiochus Epiphanes, a prototype of the Antichrist. He didn't destroy the temple in Jerusalem. He, how do you say the word? He went in and sacrificed a pig and changed laws, etc. So the Maccabeans were people who stood up and said, we fight the Seleucids, we fight against Antiochus Epiphanes. And there are books, two books, Maccabees. Read them. They are very, they You will understand a lot of things. So one of the last Maccabeans was John Hyrcanus. John Hyrcanus, he was not only a high priest for the temple, he was also the king of Judea. So when the Edomites were there, John Hyrcanus defeated the Seleucids, Antiochus Epiphanes, etc. And then he defeated the Edomites and he said to them, if you want to live with us, if you want to stay here, then you have to convert to Judaism. You have to become Jewish. You have to be circumcised and have the tradition we have, the laws, etc. Normally, the Jews were pushed to assimilate, to take other gods, etc. But this is the only time a Jew pushed others to become Jewish. And this brought a catastrophe. You never should push others to become something, because one day they are the biggest enemy. They were enemies. And they didn't become friends because they changed. Because some of them who wanted to become higher, to make careers in the state, Hasmoner, the name was Hasmoner, the Hasmoner kingdom. So they became Jewish, the Edomites, because they thought, so we can become even premier, even a president of the country. We have now the same in the West. Muslims become politicians, and what happened? So they became Jewish people. But in their heart, they were not Jews. After John Hyrcanus died, his sons received the power, but the one, Aristobulus, I think, he killed the others, even his mother he put in prison, and very soon he was killed or taken out by the Romans. The Romans, I don't know how you feel, but when I think about Rome, I think, I see them in the history since Jesus, but not before. But the Romans were before, and some years before. And they even had war with Edom, with the Edomites, because they always made problems. It's known, not? So what happened? The Romans take over because they were in war with the Seleucids, so they come to Israel and they want to restore order. So what they do? They bring Herodes. After a time, they take over, and after a time, they make Edomites kings of Judea. So, we know from history, we know from the Bible, Herod the Great. Who was Herod the Great? He was the king of Judea, but he was an Edomite. He was born in Judea, but he grew up and had all the Herods grew up in Rome, where they have their education. And then they came back, the Romans put them as kings of Judea, because for the Romans, The Herods, the Edomites, were Jews. Do you understand what I say now? It's unbelievable, not? So we see, and what they did, the Herods, what the Edomites did, and what the Muslims are doing until today. Of course, in this time there was not Islam, but Islam means submission. So we go to the beginning of the New Testament, to the birth of Jesus. What we see, Herod the Great, Matthew 2:16. Then Herod, we know, the magicians came from Babylon, this area, to find the new king, Jesus, because they knew from Daniel and all these people, Shadrach, Abednego, etc., they surely learned and heard that if there is a special star constellation, the king of Israel and the Messiah of the world will be born. So they came to find the king. And Herod heard that they came, and he asked them what is going on, and they told him a king is born here in Israel. He said, if you find the baby, come and tell me. Then Herod, but the angel of God told them, don't go back to Herod. Leave. And when the Herod saw that the wise men tricked him, he was furious, and he sent and killed all the male children in Bethlehem and in all that region who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that he has ascertained from the wise men. Then was fulfilled what was spoken by the prophet Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, weeping and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be comforted because they are no more. So Jeremiah prophesied hundreds of years before that one day somebody will kill so many babies, so many children in Israel, in Ephrata, in Ramah, perhaps it's another word, the old name of Bethlehem or what. And Rachel is weeping for the children of Israel. So Herod, the Edomite, the king of Judea, the vassal of Rome, kills 2,000 babies because he wanted to kill Jesus the king. What we see more? In Mark 6:21, the next Herod, the Herod the Great, died very soon after Jesus was born. And all these people, they don't die in good way. You can understand. But we see Herod Antipas, the next, the son. He liked to listen to John the Baptist. But he got married with the wife of his brother, and John the Baptist said, this is sin. So one day the girl of this woman was dancing, and Herod promised, I will give you everything. You can ask me for everything. And she asked her mother, and the mother said, bring the head of the Baptist. She wants the head of John the Baptist. I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter. And the king was exceedingly sorry, because he liked to listen, because John spoke about the Messiah that is who will come. But because of his oaths and his gust, he did not want to break his word to her. And immediately the king set an executioner with orders to bring John's head. He went and beheaded him in the prison and brought his head on a platter and gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard of it, they came and took his body and laid it in a tomb. What do we see? The next Herod killed John the Baptist, the man, the prophet, who prepared the way for Jesus. The next Herod we see in Acts 12. The church, the first church, was in Jerusalem. The first church was Jewish. Now we see Herod Agrippa. What does he do? About that time, Herod the king laid violent hands on some who belonged to the church. He killed James, the brother of John, with a sword. And when we saw that it pleased the Jews, he proceeded to arrest Peter also. What do we see? The Edomites, all the time, killing Jews or Christians or both. And with what? With a sword. Who beheads today people? Who beheads today people? Especially in Israel, of course, Hamas, etc., but also in Europe. We have all the time the Edomites. Every day happens so much, but the UN and the European community, with the governments of the West, they Islamize the world, the West. This is why they opened the borders. And some days ago, the Premier of England, it's unbelievable what he said. He said to his own people, to the English people, if you don't like what is happening, open borders, criminals who are coming in, killings, rapes, the borders are wide open. You can go. You can go. Of course, they replace us with others. So we see the Edomites are doing today what they did 2,000 years ago, and before 2,000 years, 3,000 years ago, they are still doing the same. And their goal is eliminate Israel, that they don't have a land, that they don't have a name, that they don't have a people. Throw them from the river to the sea. Every day we hear that in our countries. Who thought? I recommend you read historic books beside the Bible, like Josephus, a very good historian, a Jewish man, who explain a lot of things of the Bible, very good. Or Jesher is a book of the scrolls of the dead, See also unbelievable, a historic book. It opened my eyes for so many things. Yeah, read the Bible, read books that explain the Bible, confirm the Bible, and pray because it will become crazy. Goodbye. God bless you.